Hey, I'm Chip Foose, and I'm excited to be a part of the judging team at this year's Magna Global Bold Perspective Award.
Chip Foose's name was worth millions after Overhaulin. Then a Texas company used it to run a massive car scam. Police found 61 stolen vehicles with fake serial numbers. Customers lost hundreds of thousands. Chip's reputation was destroyed overnight. The lawsuits drained everything he made from TV. His marriage crumbled under the pressure. The scandal nearly killed his business. He lost almost everything fighting to clear his name. The truth about what really went down has never been fully told. Until now. Chip Foose was born on October 13, 1963, in Santa Barbara, California. His real name was Douglas Sam Foose, but his mom, Janet, started calling him Chip because his cheeks puffed out like a chipmunk's. His dad, Sam Foose, was already a known name in the custom car world. In the early 1960s, Sam had worked for Gene Winfield at AMT Models in Phoenix, building the kinds of cars that ended up on shows like Star Trek, Get Smart, The Man from UNCLE, and Bewitched. Chip was just 3 when he started tagging along to the shop on weekends. Sometimes, when his dad stayed late, Chip curled up in the doghouse beside the shop's guard dog, asleep in the smell of paint and grease. By then, Chip had already picked up a pencil. He started copying his dad's drawings over and over. His father could sketch, weld, shape metal, and paint like a pro, and Chip wanted to do all of it too. His drawings were filled with curves, chrome, and tiny engines. His toys weren't just toys. AMT kits and Hot Wheels were models of the real cars his dad brought home, and Chip studied every line. By the time he was 7, his sketches looked professional. He sat by Sam at the workbench every day, learning everything by watching and repeating until he could draw cleaner lines than most adults. That workshop wasn't just a garage. It was his school, his playground, and his future. In 1969, Sam opened his own shop called Project Design in Santa Barbara. Chip was 6. A year later, when he turned 7, he officially started working there. He swept floors, ran errands, tried to help. But like he later joked, he probably ruined more than he fixed. One time, his dad had just finished a beautiful candy root beer brown Lamborghini Miura. Chip was told to clean the rubber trim with lacquer thinner. But when his mom called him for lunch, he left the rag, still soaked, in the middle of the car's roof. When he came back, the rag had dried into the paint. It fused to the surface. That day, Chip learned 2 things. Always be careful with custom paint, and always own your mistakes. Project Design was where everything happened. Sam worked 100 hours a week. When things got busy, his wife Terry brought dinner for everyone so they could still eat together as a family. The shop was always full of strange characters and loud machines. Chip soaked it all in. Sam had learned the trade the hard way too. At 14, when his own family moved to Arizona, he stayed behind in Santa Barbara, living in a friend's garage and surviving by working on cars. He knew what sacrifice looked like, and he passed that lesson on to Chip. At 9 years old, Chip completed his first solo paint job. He picked up a damaged Volkswagen Beetle hood and spent days hammering out the dents. Then he sprayed a pearlescent white base, laid out a flame pattern, and filled it with candy-colored layers. After color sanding for 2 more days, the finish looked like glass. Chip carried it over to his dad, proud and grinning. Sam studied it, rubbed his hand across the surface, then calmly smacked the middle of the panel with a planishing hammer. "Now I can teach you how to fix it," he said. That ruined hood became Chip's training ground for metal shaping and paint repair. No part of that lesson was wasted. In the summer of 1972, when Chip was 9, a client hired Sam to chop the roof on a 1950 Mercury. Chip asked to help. His job was sanding the entire car with 220 grit paper. He worked 12 straight hours that first day. By night, both his palms were blistered and bleeding. His dad had to take him to the clinic. The doctor said he needed 2 weeks off. But Chip was back in 4 days, wearing cotton gloves under work gloves. That Mercury went on to win Best Custom at the 1973 Oakland Roadster Show. But all Chip remembered was how much it hurt to prove he could do it. The family shop wasn't just work and machines. It was where real life happened. Chip's younger sister Amy was born in 1969. At first, she seemed healthy, but by age 2, doctors diagnosed her with Hutchinson-Gilford progeria, a rare disorder that aged her body 10 years for everyone she lived. By 5, Amy had no hair, paper-thin skin, and a body that looked elderly. But her spirit was fierce. She became Chip's biggest fan. He designed toy cars for her wheelchair, painted them with purple flames, and gave them butterfly doors. When he got home from the shop, he showed her his newest sketches. She gave feedback like a real critic. Amy stood just 37 inches tall and weighed less than 30 pounds, but her opinions shaped Chip's designs more than any client ever would. In 1978, when Chip was 15, Sam took on a huge restoration, a 1929 Cadillac LaSalle that had been sitting in a barn for 40 years. Chip rebuilt the floor pan by hand. They worked 14-hour days on weekends for 7 months. That summer, they entered it in the Santa Barbara Concours d'Elegance. Against all odds, they won first place in the pre-war preservation class, but Amy's health was failing. She needed constant heart monitoring and hospital stays. Chip often brought his sketch pad to her hospital room, drawing cars to keep her smiling. Then came March 26, 1985. Amy was 16. Her heart gave out from the pressure progeria puts on the body. Paramedics arrived within 8 minutes, but she couldn't be saved. She weighed only 26 pounds. Chip was 22. He didn't speak for 3 days. He locked himself in the shop and sketched 27 custom cars. He called it Amy's Dream Garage. They had all her favorite things: purple metal flake, butterfly doors, chrome, clouds. That became his mission, to build cars that honored her, to push design beyond limits, to never waste time. Back in 1982, Chip had started studying at Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. He was 18. The commute was brutal, 90 miles round trip on a motorcycle. He worked nights and weekends at his dad's shop just to pay for gas, art supplies, and tuition. He made maybe $200 a month, but he kept going. After 2 years, he couldn't afford it anymore. He dropped out in 1984. Then Amy died in 1985. Those 2 years nearly broke him, but he stayed in the shop, kept drawing, and never stopped believing he'd finish what he started. In April 1986, Chip Foose was just 23 when he stepped through the doors of Boyd Coddington's famous hot rod shop in Stanton, California. He was young, full of ideas, and getting paid only $200 a month. He didn't care about the money yet. He wanted to build something that mattered. His first real challenge came fast, a 1934 Ford that would become known as Blue Thunder. It wasn't just a build, it was a war. Chip spent over 300 hours hand-shaping aluminum panels with nothing but hammers and an English wheel. The car had a custom chassis, independent suspension, and a small block Chevy pushing out 350 horsepower. When Blue Thunder was revealed at the Oakland Roadster Show in February 1987, people lost their minds. It won America's Most Beautiful Roadster. The spotlight hit Boyd. Chip stood behind it, quiet. No one knew he had built those flowing lines with his own hands. Boyd walked away with the $10,000 prize. Chip kept clocking in, earning the same paycheck. But a seed was planted. By 1988, the dream was turning dark. Chip became lead fabricator on a 1951 Henry J. nicknamed Boogie Woogie Birdie. He was working 72-hour weeks, sleeping on the shop floor, breathing in paint fumes and metal dust with no protection. Meals came from vending machines. Coffee replaced sleep. In February 1988, he collapsed. Doctors found his bloodstream poisoned, his lungs inflamed. He was told to rest for 2 weeks. He took 5 days. Boyd was furious the schedule might slip. Chip came back before he was ready. The car won Best Custom at Detroit. Boyd took the trophy. Chip hid the hospital bracelet. 2 years later, Chip designed a 1948 Cadillac called the Cabriolet. It had suicide doors, a chopped roof, and custom fenders that took 400 hours to build. Under the hood, a 502 cubic inch V8 roared with 502 horsepower. It debuted at the 1990 SEMA show and pulled huge crowds. Magazines lined up, cameras flashed. But when Hot Rod magazine printed their feature, Boyd's name appeared 47 times. Chip's name showed up twice, and only as fabricator. Boyd collected $75,000 in licensing and fees. Chip stayed behind in California, still working. The betrayal didn't hit like a punch. It was slower, colder. It stuck. Then came Lyle Bandit. It was 1992, a 1/3 scale 1927 Chevy Roadster with a working 4-cylinder motorcycle engine making 45 horsepower. Chip built every single part by hand, 800 hours of scaled-down genius. The car won junior class at the Detroit Autorama and got national attention. But Boyd's finances were falling apart. Vendors weren't getting paid. 3 of them threatened to sue both Boyd and Chip. Chip wasn't even part of the debt, but his name was on the purchase orders. So he paid them $5,000 out of his own savings, just to protect his reputation. It emptied his account and delayed buying his first home by 2 years. But he walked away clean. On August 12, 1993, Chip finally snapped. He was 30. Boyd owed him $8,400, 3 months of pay. He asked for it. Boyd brushed him off, said to wait until the cars sold. That afternoon, Chip packed his tools, templates, and sketchbooks into his truck. Boyd threatened legal action, said the sketches belonged to the shop, but most of Chip's designs had been drawn at home on his own time. Boyd had no case. After 3 tense days, Chip kept everything. Years later, he would say, Boyd stole ideas, took credit, and showed zero respect for the guys building his dreams. The shop filed for bankruptcy in 1998. By then, Chip was already building his own future. Foose design didn't start in 1998. It actually began in 1984 in Santa Barbara. But it wasn't until Boyd's empire started crumbling that Chip had to choose. On the day he walked out in 1998, he found out Lynn was pregnant. The mortgage was due. He had $700 in the bank. A week later, Precision Power called. They needed someone to design car audio parts. They wired Chip $10,000 up front. It saved him. He moved Foose Design to Huntington Beach in 1999 and kept the team small, just 7 people. After watching Boyd lose everything, Chip promised himself he'd never grow too fast. Even before going solo, Chip had already helped win America's most beautiful roadster. In 1996, the Boydster, a 32 Ford Roadster designed by Chip, took the AMBR trophy. Chip wasn't even 35 yet. He'd already won in 1995 with Smoothster, and he'd do it again in 1999 with Shockwave, and 2000 with 0032. These wins became the backbone of his legend, even if his name was hidden behind someone else's at the time. He never touched the Dodge Tomahawk. That wild V10 motorcycle came from inside Chrysler, not from Chip. But back in 1990, his senior project at Art Center had inspired the Plymouth Prowler. His fingerprints were already in Detroit, even if no one saw them yet. Then came 2002. Chip was 38. TLC producers saw his shop in a magazine and pitched an idea. Take a beat-up classic, pretend it was stolen, and rebuild it in just 8 days. The show would be called Overhaulin. The first car was a 1968 Camaro. They said it got rebuilt in a week, but the truth was different. They started with a donor car that already had a good engine and clean body. They spray-painted panels and swapped parts. The show called it a miracle. The crew called it survival. Some pranks went too far. One guy had his car towed by fake repo men in a grocery store parking lot. He almost called the cops. Another owner actually did. The police traced the car and nearly arrested the producers until they explained it was just for TV. After that, every fake theft had to be cleared with law enforcement ahead of time. Families signed strict confidentiality forms. Everything looked real. Most of it wasn't. In 2004, a 24-year-old named Jessie Combs joined the show. She had raw energy but little fabrication experience. Her first build was a 1969 Chevelle. She couldn't weld frame sections properly, so Chip stayed up all night teaching her MIG welding by hand. She wanted speed and flash. He wanted structure and safety. They clashed a lot. Off-camera arguments became routine. But he respected her passion. She learned fast. She left later to chase speed records. She died doing it in 2019. By 2005, Overhaulin was a hit. Some episodes drew over 2 million viewers. The builds looked like $100,000 miracles. The truth, Chip was spending nearly $50,000 of his own money per car. TLC covered filming, but the materials, the labor, the specialty parts, those came from Chip. He mortgaged his shop twice, just to keep things going. Some chassis builds alone cost $15,000. Rare parts added another $20,000. He kept going, hoping the exposure would bring more clients. Season 3 nearly killed him. They filmed 29 cars in just 9 months. That's one car every 10 days. He lost 60 pounds, slept 3 hours a night, lived on energy drinks. At one point, he worked 6 days straight, 144 hours, trying to finish a '55 Chevy Bel Air. His crew found him talking to paint cans at 4 a.m. His wife said she'd leave if he didn't stop. Doctors said his body was breaking down. TLC refused to slow the schedule. For Season 4, he finally got them to cut it to 18 builds a year. He hired more help. In 2006, Chip Foose licensed his name to a Texas company called Unique Performance. The idea sounded perfect. They were going to build special replicas of legendary cars like the GT40, the 1969 Camaro, and a series of custom Mustang Stallions. These weren't ordinary builds. They were six-figure muscle dreams with the Foose name behind them. But just a year later, everything started falling apart. By mid-2006, complaints were pouring in. Customers said the cars were late. Others said the builds looked nothing like promised. But the real shock came on November 1, 2007, when police raided the Unique Performance facility near Dallas and found 61 vintage cars in various stages of assembly. Some had fake or tampered VINs. Investigators found serial numbers scraped off, replaced with phony plates. It was a title washing operation running like a Ponzi scheme. They used new customer deposits to finish old cars, if those cars even existed. Some people had paid hundreds of thousands for cars that never left paper. Within 8 days, Chip cut ties. On November 9, 2007, he officially walked away from the company that had put his name on the line. But walking away didn't erase the damage. The lawsuits started fast. Chip had been collecting royalties on every unique car delivered. But when deliveries stopped, angry customers came after him instead of the company. Most of the money he made from Overhaulin, a show that had run for over 130 episodes on TLC, Discovery, Velocity, and Motor Trend, was drained on legal fees just to defend his name. And then the 2008 financial crisis hit. The timing couldn't have been worse. Across America, small shops were closing, jobs were disappearing, and Foose Design was suddenly fighting on two fronts: its reputation and its survival. At the center of that storm was Chip's wife, Lynn, who not only handled the business finances, but was also an attorney. She held the whole operation together while Chip traveled for court dates, Overhaulin episodes, and endless damage control. But the strain started to show. In 2008 and 2009, the marriage began to bend under the weight of it all. Chip missed birthdays, family dinners, vacations. He was working in the shop until 1 a.m., then gone for filming or meetings. Simple "I love you" messages turned into cold lists about parts delays. They stopped traveling together. They stopped talking backstage. By 2012, the distance was obvious. And in late 2019, it broke for good. Lynn filed for divorce in Orange County Superior Court. After nearly 3 decades together, it ended without headlines. Quiet papers. No tabloids. Just done. But the scandal had already done more than just hurt his marriage. It hit the business hard. His deal with MHT Luxury Wheels, which had been running since 2000, took a hit. Fans boycotted anything with the Foose brand. The whole custom car market was collapsing. Between 2007 and 2009, America lost about 8.7 million jobs. Foose Design was down to 7 employees. Chip was working day and night trying to fix things. He didn't chase TV deals. He went back to what he knew, designing one-of-a-kind builds, showcasing them at SEMA, and proving to everyone that his hands still had it, that his talent wasn't part of the scandal, but that constant pressure took a toll on his body. During Overhaulin's most intense seasons, Chip worked on 29 cars in just 9 months. Each build took a week. Sleep barely existed. For 5 years straight, he ran on fumes. He missed his kids' birthdays, missed school events, missed summer. Everything became about filming, courtrooms, or fixing what was broken. The burnout hit hard. By the end of season 3, he was nearly done. Add the unique performance fallout on top of that, and it broke him down. The backlash, the headlines, the betrayal. People he never met blaming him for cars they never received. The years of stress became a storm inside his body, inside his home, and inside his heart. Then, in 2018, something hit even harder. On November 28th, Chip's father, Sam Foose, passed away at 83 after battling cancer. Sam had taught him everything. They built cars together in Santa Barbara when Chip was still a boy. Sam was a Korean War veteran, a custom car legend, and a quiet force behind Chip's success. He used to joke, "I used to be Sam Foose. Now I'm Chip's dad." When Sam died, Chip was still filming Overhaulin. He had to stop everything and grieve. It wasn't the first loss, either. Back in 1985, Sam's daughter Amy, Chip's sister, died at just 16 from progeria. Losing Sam brought it all back. The following year, it happened again. Jesse Combs, Chip's fearless Overhaulin co-host, died in a jet car crash on August 27, 2019, while attempting to break the women's land speed record in Oregon's Alvord Desert. Her car hit 522,783 mph before losing control when a front wheel struck debris. Jessie died from blunt force trauma just moments before the jet car burst into flames. She was 39. She had worked on Mythbusters, Extreme 4x4, and became a hero to so many in the industry. Chip posted a tribute, heartbroken. Guinness World Records later confirmed she was the fastest woman on Earth, breaking a record that hadn't been touched since 1976. That same year, everything Chip had built at home finally collapsed. Lynn filed for divorce after 30 years together. Chip later said, "I got rid of my first wife, gave her everything, starting over from scratch." They had built Foose Design side by side. She was the vice president. She handled the money. She managed the chaos so Chip could create. But by 2015, they were already flying to events separately. He was exhausted and promoting shows. She was signing vendor contracts and putting out fires at the shop. Their texts became schedules, not love notes. The shop felt empty. The house, even more so. After the split, Chip had to rebuild not just his business, but his life. At a time when most legends are relaxing, Chip was starting from the bottom again. Friends said it wasn't just one moment that caused the divorce. It was years of missed dinners, lonely hotels, and slowly fading love. Their 2 kids, Brock and Katie, were already adults when it happened, old enough to see the cracks, but still young enough to feel them. The house in Southern California that had once been full of life and creativity was now divided. The family stayed private, but anyone paying attention could see the toll. Whether Brock or Katie officially joined Foose Design has never been confirmed, but Chip has always said he wanted the legacy to continue. When Overhaulin ended its original run in 2015, Chip walked away, burned out. They had restored over 200 cars across 9 seasons. The final episode featured a 1967 Plymouth GTX painted candy apple red with a billet interior. It later sold for $250,000 at MeCume auctions, and Chip donated every dollar to the Progeria Research Foundation. That decision wasn't random. A young fan named Amy, who had attended tapings despite battling the disease, had inspired him. The show returned briefly in 2019, but Chip knew the grind had taken something from him. He didn't want the fame if it meant losing his soul. Then came 2024. Chip launched a new partnership with MagnaFlow and introduced the Foose Performance line at the SEMA show. It started with a custom De Tomaso Pantera exhaust system, selling for $2,995 with Chip's signature engraved. It gave a 15-horsepower boost and boosted MagnaFlow's sales by 30% in the first quarter. By early 2025, they had 47 systems available with plans for 200 by year-end. This was Chip's pivot. No more one-car-at-a-time TV deadlines. Now he could influence thousands of builds at once, with less stress and more control. Then in January 2025, at Barrett-Jackson Scottsdale, Chip stood on the auction block as his real truck F-150 sold for $150,000, all donated to Progeria Research again. The truck had suicide doors designed from sketches drawn by Amy, the same girl he honored in 2015. The truck had 750 horsepower, navy and pearl paint, and 140 hours of custom fabrication. It went viral, 4.2 million views in 48 hours. Chip choked up during his speech, saying this wasn't just a build, it was personal. Today, Foose Design is thriving again. The Costa Mesa shop has 15 craftsmen, a 2-year waiting list, and builds costing between $400,000 and $1.2 million. They're restoring a 1932 Duesenberg Model J that once belonged to Clark Gable. Chip's won the Riddler Award 4 times, 1996, 2000, 2002, and 2005. No one else has matched that. His 2005 Mustang Fastback, Impression, is still considered a masterpiece. His Hot Wheels collab sold 12 million cars. His net worth is around $18.5 million. And in 2018, he was inducted into the Grand National Roadster Show Hall of Fame. Now at 61, he's working on a memoir due in 2026. It'll finally tell the full story. His firing from Boyd Coddington's shop in 1998, the royalty fights, the tension behind the chrome smiles. At the same time, he's quietly training his lead fabricator, Brock, to take over someday. Brock has been shadowing him since 2016. If things go as planned, Chip will step back around 2030 and become a mentor, not the front man. He still teaches at Art Center College of Design. He still gives scholarships. And he still believes that design isn't just about making something beautiful. It's about making it last, even when everything else falls apart.